are live. Today's September 27th. Welcome back to the AMA. Probably noticed that it's just me today. Mitch is traveling. Neil is MIA. So we've got a little something special for this episode. Some people from the community are going to jump on and ask me questions live. Doing it live. So I'm going to get all these stream links out. And then Nifty is going to be the first one asking questions. So we're going to do it in kind of a reverse order. So usually when we do these AMAs, I start with some Leo updates and then we jump into questions after. But, since we've got people jumping on live, we're going to start with the questions and then do some updates and maybe some crypto talk after. So a little bit of switch up from our normal AMA programming. I think Mitch will be back either next week or the week after. I'm not sure when he gets back into town. So you're stuck with me until then. Guess you're kind of stuck with me every time. And announcements are out. Nifty's going to join right now. Hey, what's up?
Yo, how's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you? This is the first time we talked face to face.
Yeah, man. This is pretty cool. I like the new idea for the live questions. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. I think Mitch gets back either next week or the week after. So we can definitely do it this week, see how it goes, and then maybe it could be a regular thing too, because I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, I like that my background's stuck from Cryptoholics. I guess I'm on vacation. Still kind of the vibe.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, plug the Cryptoholics every Friday.
Yeah, every Friday, 10:30-ish, we have a beer on Cryptoholics, and we stream it on Twitter, which is odd. But we got it figured out at this point, I think.
Yeah. We got to start doing the AMAs on because you guys are using Twitter. What is it called? I'm blanking on what it's called. Spaces, right?
Yeah. So it's a little weird because we of course we record the video, but then Spaces is audio only. So I have to do it from my phone, listening to my computer's audio. It's kind of the worst setup ever.
Right.
Because it's not on desktop yet. They don't, you can listen on desktop, but you can't, actually participate.
Yeah. I did one with 3Speak when they interviewed me on Spaces, and it was kind of confusing to get set up, but it is cool.
Yeah. Apparently there's some like rigs you can get to plug your phone into to make it like, a better setup, but I'm not messing with all that too much.
Yeah, I feel you.
Too lazy for that.
Yeah. So what you got for me, question-wise?
All right. So I guess the biggest question I have is, so we've got Threads. Threads is awesome. It's working great. The feature set's getting fleshed out. So it's becoming like a thing that to me is part of my day, like all day. And I found myself forgetting about the rest of Hive. But I guess my question is, from here, we full feature set fleshed out, how far are we from independent app or project blank, I guess would be the
that's a good question. It's it's going to have a lot to do with how the platform progresses in terms of usability and the feature set, because where we're at right now, like, when Threads launched, which what was it? August 4th was when we launched, which is pretty crazy. It was only, 2 months ago, basically.
Wow.
Obviously, like, the platform was like pretty unusable. It was usable. Like you could make threads but there were countless bugs. I'm sure you know. And I mean, loading speed. I mean, up until last week, the loading speed was horrendous. So it took a lot longer. I didn't expect it to take as long as it did to actually get the performance that we've got now. I expected that we would have had this performance after maybe 2 or 3 weeks of threads. So it's always hard for me to give the soons to the whens, but I think we're looking good for like some sort of app spin-off by the end of the year. And what that looks like might not be what people expect. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be very dependent on how the features progress, how the platform progresses, how the users progress. I think we are lacking in users on threads, but actually since the last performance update, we've seen a lot more activity. I'm sure everyone's noticed that, now there's pretty much a new thread every few minutes, whereas before it was kind of every, 15, 20 minutes, you kind of had people jumping in and out. And the user experience obviously wasn't very good. So it's very dependent on people using it, on us figuring out bugs, on us scaling everything. We just dropped this big update for scaling. And a few people noticed that the threads account that makes like the container posts made like, I don't even know what it was, maybe a dozen posts within a few minutes, or not a few minutes, but with 5 minutes apart for like a 2-hour period of time. And we did basically some scaling tests to see, right now we've got, I haven't put any numbers to it, but maybe like 100 people using threads, which is not a ton. LeoFinance has like 650 to 700 monthly active users. And right now I would say threads is about 100 of that. So, with 100 or even 150 monthly active users, can we scale to 1,000 monthly active users? Can we scale to 10,000, 100,000? Because the idea of spinning off the app and making a standalone microblogging app is that we would take basically a finalized form and put that out into the world and say, now we're ready for 100,000 people to join this platform on day one. And that's not where Threads is at right now. And it's obviously not where it was at when it launched. This is really, the open beta is like an understatement. It's this is the key moment to get everything kind of polished and ready for mainstream. So my long-winded answer is basically to say that it'll be ready for the standalone app when I think that on day one we could have 100,000 people join and things won't go down, things won't crash. There won't really be, bugs, at least no like major bugs. And that's all kind of dependent on us, testing it, implementing new stuff, and hopefully the community and LeoFinance and Hive broadly kind of see that we're doing a lot of rapid updates, trying to get to that place.
Yeah, I think everything's going great, and I think it's definitely scalable, and I'm very excited about it. As you can see, I'm on there all day, every day. So
yeah, I'd say you're probably
that was my
the
big
heaviest
question.
Yeah, I'd say you're probably the heaviest Threads user I've seen. And then obviously you've got the GM token on Wax. Yeah. Can you tell everyone a little bit about that? Because I know a little bit about it, but I, if I'm being honest, I don't know a ton about how it works. I know that you can earn it if you have a Wax account connected to your Hive account, I think, and you use the GM Friends hashtag.
Yeah, so it's kind of like an experiment. I wanted to do like a cross blockchain kind of project, and I was like, a social token is probably the easiest thing to make happen, in that regard. So yeah, if you put a Wax wallet in your Hive profile somewhere, we don't have this automated yet. I say we're working on it. It's me and one awesome dude that's just kind of volunteered to help. So once is all said and done, you'll be able to use the GM Friends tag on Threads exclusively and earn GM tokens over on the Wax blockchain. So it's a bit of a process right now, the way I do it. Apparently I'm not connected to Discord. Hold on.
Oh yeah, should have told you that.
Whoops.
Let's see.
Doing it live. If I can get into Discord. There we go. Let me
I think I might
unmute.
have to unmute you.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
Try unmuting now.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Am I? Okay. I guess I'm unmuted at this point. Can
Yeah, I think
anybody
you're
hear me? Cool. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, this whole thing, I've had an idea to do this for a long time. I just didn't know how I was going to make it happen or what it was really going to be, and I still don't.
Yeah.
It's just something that I've wanted to do, and I decided Threads is the way to do it because it's small, as you said, right now, and that's a good thing because you know GM Friends is small too, and it's got a lot of work to go before it can scale very much. But yeah, use the tag on Threads. You can earn 6.9 GM tokens once per day. And then we've got NFTs dropping tomorrow that are going to mine the token passively. And I've got a staking contract set up for those NFTs. So that is tomorrow at like 4:20, I think EST, maybe CST. One of
I
those.
love the
Yeah.
numbers. Love the numbers.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I've been watching the experiment from kind of from the sidelines. I mean, I use the tag, but I don't think my account is connected to any Wax blockchain stuff. But yeah, I mean, I see more and more people using the GM Friends hashtag every day. So you love to see it. You love to see it.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy to watch it kind of take off. I didn't expect that at all. So now I'm here, I'm running with it, and I got a lot of fun stuff planned for it. Main thing is get a UI together for people to register, say their Wax account with their Hive username, like a simple little interface. That's the next step. Right now, it's an Excel spreadsheet.
That's how everything starts, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Love it. Love it. Sweet. You got any other questions or anything else you want to say? So we get the
other questions? No. I think that's good. That was my burning question, and I think I got the answer I expected. Obviously, we got to scale some. We gotta add a lot of features and get everything ready for 100,000 users. But I think at the end of the day, Threads is going to be what brings that next 10,000 to 100,000 users to Hive and LeoFinance, of course. But I mean, you just don't have an easier way to onboard people, like, at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole idea, just simplicity. And, the world has moved towards short form content, whether you look at Twitter or TikTok or Instagram. There's still definitely an audience, and there always will be, for long form content. I personally prefer long form content, but the audience for short form has always been bigger, and it's only getting bigger with time. So being able to onboard people and just say, hey, you can post a picture of your cat, or you can just reply to other people's threads. That's kind of that's the next evolution of social media on Hive, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Well, thanks for jumping on. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making
really
the GM cool token. I love it.
Yeah. Trying to get some more users over here, and people like to be rewarded for things, even if they're worth tokens, Maybe they'll be worth something one day, but
I bet they will. They'll be 69 cents soon.
At least 69 cents is what I'm hoping for, because you're burning them. You're burning them not having a Wax account registered. So keep that in mind.
Love it.
All right, man. Good talking to you.
Sweet. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for jumping on.
Yep.
See ya. All right. That was nifty. That was my first time talking to him live on the Sooniverse Air. Or as Eric, a Nomad Soul, likes to call it, Leo TV. And I don't know who's next. He said someone was next. Let's see. Maybe Tokenized Society is next. But yeah, we've got a bunch of people in Discord. Thanks for jumping in, everybody. Let's see what we got. And you can, just like with our normal AMAs, you can still post your questions in Discord and on threads as well. So if you've got questions and you don't want to jump on, feel free to throw them in there. Hey, what's up? How's it going? Are you Tokenized Society?
Yeah, that's me.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, nice to meet you after all this time.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
How's it going?
Yeah, fine, man. You know, a long-time listener, first-time caller. It's what they say, I think.
Love that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for jumping
Very
on.
Nice. Sure.
What you got for me?
Okay, so I want to talk about our DeFi suite, let's call it, or umbrella, whatever. So we have some cool additions to Cub and Polycub. I was wondering what's next, because I know there are plans for expanding into other chains and all that. So I was wondering if that's still the plan. Are we going to expand, or first there are still changes that are needed on the two chains that we are in right now? Just wanted to hear from you on that subject.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a Nomad Soul is saying, can you try unmuting in Discord? Oh, there you go. I think you got it. But yeah, the the DeFi stuff is interesting. So if you go back, I don't remember how long ago that was, maybe 8 months ago, we were talking about expanding Cub to all these different blockchains, basically kind of following what DeFi was doing in a broader sense, which was expanding to, all these different EVM. All right, that was weird. For some reason, it kicked me out of the Zoom. So yeah, I think everyone's saying we're coming back online. Let me just make sure we're good. I think the live stream is still working on YouTube. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, we're still good. So I think where I got cut off, the whole DeFi industry was expanding to basically all these different EVM chains, and you saw this big kind of expansion of DeFi. The whole explosion kind of started on obviously on Ethereum, but then when BSC came along, that's when things kind of hit this acceleration point. And then obviously we launched Cub, and Cub happened to be kind of one of the first platforms of its kind. And then obviously there were a lot of clones of that setup afterwards. I think Goose DeFi was like the big Pancake Swap clone, and then we cloned after Goose DeFi, and then a bunch of other people cloned after that. But for us, differently than other DeFi platforms like Goose and others, there was kind of this long-term idea that we could create, basically this DeFi stack where we could take LeoFinance and our Web3 community, and we can expand it beyond, simple, social interactions on Hive. And the idea kind of driving that is, was basically this kind of way to drive in new users in kind of an unorthodox way. but ultimately that was the goal, and that still is the goal, is to increase our monthly active users. And along with that, you kind of have this kind of financial incentive or financial part of this, our whole Web3 ecosystem, which is, expanding the opportunities and the knowledge of finance, through LeoFinance. So, Cub really kicked that off. PolyCub was intended to kind of be our first expansion, or we were calling them outposts on another blockchain, which was Polygon. And then we planned on doing that on all these other chains and kind of connecting them all together. The idea being that being on all these different chains, we could create a bridge, like Leo Bridge, multi-token bridge. And, by bridging assets back and forth, we could create a lot of value. That mission is still in place. So if you pay attention to like what we've been doing with Cub lately and with PolyCub, with the multi-token bridge and bHIVE and bHBD, that mission of bridging assets and creating a lot of value is still there. It just looks a little bit differently than, what was intended, which was to kind of create that outpost on every blockchain. So I would say, rather than doing all the outposts on different chains, because I think what we've seen with, ever since the Terra collapse, which kind of kicked off, it kind of coincided with the Fed raising rates like crazy. And obviously all markets are not doing well right now. I think DeFi got hit the hardest. And if you look at Cub and PolyCub and, their token prices and their market caps, they've gotten hit extremely hard. And then even when you look at broader, the broader DeFi space, look at something like Rune, where, it went from $20 to $1.50 today. The entire DeFi space, I think, took the brunt of the hit when it comes to the crypto market kind of collapse. And that being said, I still believe that DeFi is right now and definitely in the future going to be one of the biggest reasons to use crypto, one of the biggest use cases for crypto. The idea of unbanking yourself with Bitcoin is something you can go back to, 2010 and see people talking about. And now, you can go out and this is something I personally do, is go out and use something like MakerDAO and take out a loan against your Bitcoin and use that loan money to live and pay your bills every day instead of selling your Bitcoin. And now you've become your own personal bank, where instead of, traditionally going to a bank and getting a loan for a mortgage, for example, you could, if you own a lot of Bitcoin, you could go out, collateralize your Bitcoin, get a loan against it, and then use that. And, unbanking yourself has never been more true than it is now in crypto. And I think that's only going to get deeper and deeper. Obviously, this whole market collapse has taken the risk off assets and really destroyed their value. So things like Cub, PolyCub, Rune have all gotten hit the hardest. But I do think those things, will recover kind of when the whole market starts to recover. I think those risk on assets are going to become even more valuable than they were before, as people kind of pile back into risk assets. But, in the long run, I would say the idea behind Cub is still there to create that stack. What I think we're going to do instead of the outposts is actually kind of tighten instead of expand. So I think, and we've kind of already done it, is kind of tighten the focus back to Cub and build this bridge liquidity and start building deep liquidity, trading volume, arbitrage volume. And obviously now we're burning tokens. We just hit 1 million tokens burned on Cub, and kind of building that snowball effect, and then taking that snowball effect, and rather than launching, new tokens and new platforms on different blockchains, see if we can actually just expand our bridge without creating another token. And I think that's kind of where we're going to be headed in the long run. In the immediate future, the next thing coming to Cub, I think as of today, we just hit 500,000 in multi-token bridge TVL, which is huge. So that's bHBD and bHIVE. And the next thing for Cub that I'm hoping, I think I put out a tweet, I'm hoping it'll be done by the end of the month, is the variable staking. So the contract is ready. Right now we're doing the front end, which will hopefully be ready for testing, probably the end of today or tomorrow. And that will essentially let you stake your Cub. It'll replace the Cub Kingdom, and it'll let you stake your Cub for a specific amount of time, up to 365 days. So you could stake it for like 25 weeks or like 52 weeks or 1 week. And the longer you stake it for, the more APY you get. Whereas right now the Cub Kingdom is you just stake it and it's instantly liquid if you want to withdraw. So it's a different setup, but I think it's identical to what Cake has done with their variable staking contract. So this kind of creates a whole new use case for Cub in terms of staking, and kind of getting your share in like this multi-token bridge revenue future. And then obviously, you know, a lot of focus has been put into those bHBD, bHIVE farms. So I would say in the immediate future, it's all about building that bridge liquidity. In the long-term future, it's going to be taking that setup and trying to expand it to other chains without creating a new token. So maybe we can create, you know, Avalanche Cub without creating an actual Avalanche Cub token that's separate from Cub. It will probably be like a wrapped derivative of Cub on Avalanche. And that obviously could get interesting. What I think that requires, though, is having a very large amount of liquidity on BSC to start, and especially starting to snowball effect that market cap of Cub. Because essentially what you have to do is, if we expand to another chain, we have to take, say, 5% or 10% of the yield on Cub and move it to Avalanche Cub instead of launching a whole new token. So if the market cap of Cub can increase to the point where we can say, okay, now it's time to like almost acquire or kind of like M&A on another blockchain, that would be kind of where we're headed long term.
All right, cool. Thanks, Carl. Good luck and keep up the great work, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for jumping on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Catch you later.
See you later. Yep, see ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I see a Nomad Soul is asking a question from Zestimony. He's asking about the Leo miner tokens. Are they a good investment and how do they work? It's kind of funny because Roland was actually just talking about Leo miners the other day. Leo miners are, you know, basically from the beginning of Leo, and they essentially mine. There's three pools of Leo token distributions. The first pool is obviously proof of brain. That's where, you know, from blogging, from threads, that's how you can earn from upvoting and also receiving upvotes. The second pool is from the Geyser pool. That's the Wrapped Leo Geyser. The third pool is mining. So off the top of my head, I think it's 15% of the total amount of Leo that is mined goes to the mining pool. And from that mining pool, the Leo miners get a share of that pool, basically. So you have to buy miners and stake them. The miners were basically all distributed at the beginning and sold out a long time ago. I think Roland is probably the biggest holder of miners. I know Neil McSpadden had a bunch of miners too. But yeah, I mean, I've seen posts out there, like if you Google Leo miners calculation or something, I'm sure you'll find articles on LeoFinance about it, but basically people have run the math in a lot of different ways to say, if you can buy a miner at X price, then your yield will be Y, and you kind of have to, you know, kind of collect that data for yourself and see what the yield is on it. But yeah, it's kind of a specific to the variables that you enter type of question, where if they're worth buying, it really has to do with what price you're getting for them. So kind of as with everything when it comes to investing, you know. So I hope that helps. The miners are pretty complex, at least in terms of coming up with that calculation of how they would be beneficial. And I would say I'm going to take this time as a good little plug for LeoFi. LeoFi is probably one of the most underutilized aspects of LeoFinance. It actually probably will take the cake as it, because there's 0 leases out there right now. There's 0 available leases, but there's 30 that are ongoing, which means that there's 30 that people are actually, you know, leased out. LeoFi is a way that it's a decentralized marketplace where you can lease Leo power. And you can either be the one that requests a lease, or you can be the leaser. And it basically just lets anybody lease Leo power to each other. And I think the APR for curating with Leo right now is somewhere between 15 and 20%. So essentially, if you get a lease for like 10% APR, then you can earn 10% APR for doing nothing by leasing that out to someone. And then someone else can take that and pay you 10%, but then make 15%. So they arbitrage and get the 5%. So obviously that doesn't get a ton of usage because most people just set up a curation trail if they want passive, Leo APR. But I think over time, there's some ways that we can drive more usage to that. But yeah, that's my kind of little plug that's somewhat related to Leo miners. If you're looking for kind of more passive ways to earn on your Leo power, there's a lot of options. I think there's a lot of options in our community that are underutilized and under talked about. So what's up, effing guru? Thanks for joining. Not sure who we've got next. Oh, we got a Nomad Soul. Effing guru. That's yeah. So you're a little late to the party because someone we were just talking about that, and actually Nifty was asking when we're going to get the separate application for Leo Threads. So I'm sure there's going to be a clip that will go up soon, and you can see the full answer. But in short, basically what I said was the key right now is getting Leo Threads to a scalable place where the vision of a standalone app would be that we could take that out to the world and say, hey, we're ready for 100,000 users to join on day one with little to no bugs and, a high degree of scalability. So, we've done a lot of scalability tests recently. And if you've used Threads recently, you'll notice that it's super fast, especially compared to when we launched it. So the key right now is developing Threads, developing the features of Threads, improving the performance, improving the user experience, and really getting it ready to scale. And once it's ready to scale, once we think that, we could just go out and say, 100,000 people can just jump right onto Threads with no lag time, no performance issues. That's kind of when that's going to take place. And now we've got a Nomad Soul live on air.
Hey, Cal. Am I good on audio?
Yeah, I can hear you. Let's see. I think you're muted in Discord.
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with it because even though I gave a role for people to join voice, I don't think there's a way for users to unmute themselves, even though they have the rights to speak in the channel.
Try unmuting yourself now.
Yeah, there's no I can't.
That's weird. All right, well, I'll if you just read your question to me, I'll just repeat it, and then at least everyone in Discord can hear it.
Yeah, it's just I have this question that goes like 2022 has been hard with all the bearish markets and all that stuff, and most of the tokens are getting pretty what's the word? Pretty hurt.
Wrecked.
So
Yeah,
I was wondering what's your vision for LeoFinance, the blogging app for 2023, and how do you see it developing around summer, which is where most people who are bullish for 2023 think that the market will take a turn. Like how do you envision LeoFinance performing by summer 2023?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, when it comes to markets, when it comes to pricing, you can never really predict anything. But if you look at, and I think Taskmaster put up a post a few weeks ago talking about how, I think I mentioned on an AMA, which is then what he took and turned into a post, how I envision the whole Leoverse to be, $100 million market cap within the next 5 to 10 years. And, there's a lot of things driving that. Really, the whole idea behind LeoFinance, and this is our tagline, is to democratize financial knowledge and access. So what that means is making people more financially literate, and also giving them opportunities in finance that, previously in the world were not available. So things like Cub, things like PolyCub, having, decentralized smart contracts that people can interact with and basically unbank themselves is kind of this future that I believe in, this future that I buy into about crypto. I never really believed in crypto as an actual currency. I know that use case exists, especially in some parts of the world over others. But that being said, I think the biggest use case for crypto is not as a currency, it's as digital assets and technologies. So the underlying technology that those digital assets represent is what I believe in. So the way that I see this kind of unfolding in the coming bull market is pretty similar to how it did before. So I know actually you started a contest of Leo then versus Leo now through Leo Growth, and I think that's going to be a really cool lens. I haven't read any of those posts yet, but I meant to go through and read a bunch. And I basically want to see, how people perceive, what Leo used to be and what it is now. If you go back to the beginning of Leo, it looks absolutely nothing like what it looks like now. We've made so much progress in terms of building things and building a team and building technology. And, we've come a long way from where we started. But if you look at what happened in the last bull cycle, so if you look at 2020, actually, if you look at the transition when Steam turned into Hive, Leo became almost completely worthless. That was due to a lot of different factors. There was a big looming threat overhead, though, that Leo was going to die and that all second layer projects were going to die. I think even Splinterlands was struggling pretty heavily. There was this huge threat looming over our heads. And what happened after that was we obviously transitioned to Hive. It took people a little bit of time, a few months, to get comfortable again with layer 2 and Leo and everything. And obviously, if you go back to what we were posting about, what I was posting about, what at LeoFinance was posting about, the technology development that we were doing never stopped. So, we knew that there was kind of like this Steam to Hive transition and this whole fight that was going on. I actually did an interview for Decrypt back when that whole Steam hostile takeover happened. There was kind of this huge battle, and you can find a ton of information about that battle. But what happened was we bottomed out. We basically became worthless. The whole Leoverse was worth, probably under $50,000 if you examine the market cap. Yeah. And obviously there was like no liquidity back then because there were no liquidity pools. Then after that, we launched the LeoFinance.io standalone interface, which was a big thing that I had been working on for at least 6 to 8 months at that point. Kind of behind the scenes, I was working on it because LeoFinance launched as Steam Leo with the condenser fork. So we obviously launched, bare bones with basically nothing, and then spent a lot of time, invested a lot of money in building the LeoFinance.io that you see today. And with that came Lightning and Leo Infra, Facebook light accounts, Twitter light accounts, Cub DeFi, PolyCub, and now you've got threads and you've got communities, and you've got LeoFi.io and you've got LeoDex. I mean, there's like countless things that we've built since then. But what happened throughout that bottoming out period was essentially the same thing that's happening right now, where the valuations start to get so low that people think, maybe this thing's going to die, maybe this thing's not going to last. That's kind of where a lot of crypto projects are at right now. The funny thing that happened, though, is that we bottomed out, but we continued to build the technology, as I think most people have seen that we've been doing. Threads has never been better than it is now. And being a member of this community, I think, has never been more interesting than now in terms of usability and technology. so that technological development has just continued. It's actually accelerated lately since we've, brought in new devs and have been able to kind of expand. And after the bottoming out, what happened was the bull market hit for crypto, and Bitcoin bottomed out at like $3,500, and then we saw just a massive spike in everything. And I think Leo spiked up to over $1. It was like $1.10 at one point. And through that bull market, we hit a crazy valuation. I think Cub launched and the market cap was like $20 million for a few months. And crypto was booming, everything was booming, things were great, everyone was rich, we were all going to buy Lambos. So it's a funny thing. Price and market cap are a funny thing, because they come and go and they ebb and flow. And that being said, what I always look for is that continuous pace of technological development, because what you're basically doing is, in the bear market, you're consolidating. And I kind of talked about this in my answer about the Cub, my last answer about the Cub expansion to other blockchains and stuff. Right now in a bear market, what you're seeing is the consolidation. So I think what good projects are doing is they're consolidating their resources to focus on their core business, generating revenue, hiring new members, building better technology. That's what you do in the bear market. In the bull market is when you cash in on all the hard work you put in the bear market. So what I see happening is Leo will, and the whole Leoverse will not only return to the market caps that we saw, in the last bull cycle. I think we'll far exceed it because of the technological difference from now compared to the last bull cycle. So I think it's almost like a reap and sow. So if anyone's like a farmer or gardener, you plant seeds and you water those seeds and you work hard on getting them prepared for the next season. And when that next season hits, that's when you reap your rewards. Yeah. So I really believe that the Leoverse works in a very similar way. And for that matter, all of crypto, whether you look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything, Rune, obviously I love Rune, and I see the same thing happening there, going from $20 to $1.50 doesn't feel good. But you reap the rewards of your technological improvements in the next bull cycle. So my opinion is that, in the next bull cycle, and I don't know if that's going to be summer of 2023. I don't know if it's going to be summer of 2024. I don't know if it's going to be 2034. But I know that it's coming at some point. And just as the Starks will tell you that winter is coming, summer is also coming at some point. So it's at some point that summer is going to hit, and we're going to reap all the rewards of all this technological improvement. And I truly believe that in the next cycle, we could see the Leoverse market cap, so that's the combined market cap of Leo, Cub, and Polycub, being over $100 million. And I know I've said that that's my vision over 10 years, but I do think that we could see it in the next cycle.
Yeah, it's all about long-term, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, which kind of leads into Effing Guru's question. You've been building crazy stuff for the community for years. What are you getting out of it? I want to know your motivation to work all day, every day on LeoFinance. Yeah, so I mean that's exactly what I'm talking about, is like this long-term vision that I've had since the beginning, that we could build something that's $100 million market cap, $1 billion market cap, and beyond. And I think that comes with more monthly active users, and it comes with, in terms of the Cub and the Polycub and DeFi stuff that we're building, it comes with millions of dollars in liquidity, trading fees, burning a ton of Cub. And then, so more monthly active users, more liquidity, more volume, all of these things kind of add up to that next cycle. We could hit, $100 million market cap and eventually $1 billion. My stake in that future is obviously significant. So for me, it's always been investing now in the technology, in the business, in, building out a team and getting us to the point where we're ready to kind of reap those rewards, to tie it back into my last answer. That's really what motivates me, is building something that is scaled and cool to use and a fun place, to talk about finance. I've been interested in finance since I was like literally like a little kid. I was like probably 6 or 7 years old, and I would tell everybody that I wanted to own a hedge fund when I was older. So that was, some kids dream about being an astronaut. I dreamed about owning a hedge fund. It was always my passion, to talk about finance and learn about it and read books about it. So what I set out to do when Leo started was simply create a place where I could talk about finance and enjoy talking about it, and have a community that I could talk to about the things that I love talking about. So my motivation is that we create a place like that. And, when I meet people in real life and they ask me what I do, I always talk about Leo and the stuff we've done with it. And that to me is the exciting part. It's like, hey, they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, hey, you can look at this app called LeoFinance.io. And I'm like very proud to show it off and show where the technology has come. And that's what motivates me is just doing something cool, because, as I'm sure Neil and Mitch would tell you if they were on here, the money is clearly not a motivation. It's about building something that's cool, that gives me like a good story and a good place to talk about the things that I love talking about. Making money from this stuff is not really the driving force for doing it. Although money is fun. Everybody loves money. I think we either lost a Nomad Soul or he jumped off on purpose. I'm not sure. But thank you for the questions. Let's see. Effing Guru said, when Leo Fest? Maybe soon. Maybe soon. I mean, it definitely is going to happen at some point. I don't know if it'll be this year or next year, but I do think that we should do something cool. I have talked about it before. I would love to do something that is obviously Leo themed as well, but something that's more broad based about crypto and finance, and then obviously just make it hosted by LeoFinance. In my opinion, that's kind of a cool thing to do, where we could attract a much broader audience. We could hire some really, really big speakers in, the crypto finance space, and maybe bring in people like Michael Saylor, just some like big figureheads, and make it a conference that's more about crypto and finance than being just about Leo, but obviously it would still be called Leo Fest. Nomad Soul thought he had to leave after his question. Yeah, I mean, you're always more than welcome. You're always more than welcome to be on the show. Let's see what else we got. Question from Katerina. Do you wish to promote Leo threads mostly to Hive users or other users, take them from traditional channels? Would you think of creating influencer treats for joining and promoting Leo threads? Yeah, so this is actually something good to talk about, and something that I've actually been working with a Nomad Soul over is finding influencers that we can kind of sponsor and kind of bring into our fold, and basically sponsor their channels. Like, let's say there's like a Twitch streamer out there, and we could sponsor them, and kind of coincide that with, maybe bringing them into the Leo fold and having them start using threads and bringing their community into threads and doing some cool stuff there. So the way I envision that is we're going to find, a few smaller influencers, maybe even some influencers on Hive. I think that's kind of where we're starting, and then get some smaller influencers on Twitter that have a following, but maybe not a huge following, and sponsor them and bring them into our fold, and kind of kick off that snowball effect of, say, go from 650 to 750 to 850 monthly active users. And the funny thing about network effects is that once you get a few monthly active users, you get a few more, and those monthly active users beget more monthly active users. So I think influencer marketing is, if you pay attention to any social media, influencer marketing has become massive. There are 16-year-olds making hundreds of millions of dollars from TikTok, and that's all influencer marketing, and that's not going anywhere. So I definitely see us kind of stepping into that a little bit more, and kind of tying that into the first question about when Leo Threads kind of scales up and is ready for hundreds of thousands of users. We need to keep scaling our technology and keep getting it ready for these people, because you need Web3, and I just posted a blog post about this actually from a clip from last week's AMA. You need the technology on Web3 to be as usable and as user-friendly as Web2 was. Nobody wants to move from something that is easy to use to something that is hard to use. And the only reason that all of us are here and using all this technology is because we see the future of the technology. It's kind of like we're stepping into an unbuilt house and we can envision what that house is going to look like one day. But people who don't have as big of imaginations as us step into that unfinished house and they see a POS. So what we need to do is get this technology to be that finished house. And we need them to walk into that house and see that it's built and that it's cool and they can sit on the couch and enjoy using it. The focus right now is really getting the technology to that place. And it could take years, it could take months. I think right now Threads is at this point where it's ready for a couple thousand more users without any issues. We haven't really seen any downtime. Performance has been really amazing lately. Actually, our dev team is basically switching focus from performance now because, as you can see, the performance is really, really great. I would say it's pretty much on par with Twitter most of the time. Our team is basically switching focus from performance to adding new features and making it more user-friendly and basically adding more value to using it. So one of the big next features has been something that a lot of you are asking for, which is nested replies. So when you open a thread, you'll be able to see, replies to replies, and it'll be nested in there, which will obviously make, replying to other people a lot easier. I think it'll increase engagement. The latest profile update that we did, where you can now see threads in your profile, I think added a lot of value to engaging on threads. So basically just adding things like that is really going to get us to that point where I think we're ready for influencers and big communities to start joining threads and using it. But right now, if you're a user of Hive, you should definitely be a user of threads, and I'm not just saying that because I'm trying to plug it, but it's, if you are able to look past kind of that unfinished house product that is the whole broad Hive ecosystem, because let's face it, everything on Hive is kind of an unfinished product. It's all being actively built. They're not fully finished. They're not fully polished. They're not that easy to use. So if you're able to look past that, then you're obviously a great marketing candidate for us to bring you to Threads, because Threads is it's not a finished house. It's not a finished product. It is definitely a work in progress. What else we got? All right, from Marco. Will the next hard fork and one block confirmations, HAF, make the interface faster? Also was hoping to meet you live on Hive Fest, and thanks a lot for the ticket. Yeah, I'm glad you won. I'm glad we were able to help you get to Hive Fest. I saw your post about it and some pictures, and it looked awesome. So yeah, I wanted to be at Hive Fest myself. It was, I think the flight from here is about 12 hours. So I actually had a flight booked and I meant to be there, but then I had to cancel last minute for some personal stuff. But I'm definitely going to make sure I'm there next year. I don't know where it's going to be next year, but I'm going to just basically block out the whole month and make sure that I'm there. I don't want to miss it again, because I think the last Hive Fest, I was at the last Hive Fest before this one, which was virtual. You can see or actually it was at 2020. I don't know. You can see a speech that I gave at one of the virtual Hive Fests during COVID, obviously. Yeah, so I'm very excited to do a Hive Fest in person. I've never been to one, even though I've been on Hive for basically since the beginning. Yeah, I hope to meet everybody one day at the next Hive Fest. Will the next Hive Fest? Yeah, I'm not sure. We need to do some testing. We haven't really done. There is a test net to do, testing for the next Hive hard fork, and we really haven't done much on that front, just because we're so busy building out features. It may potentially make the UI faster. But keep in mind that our UI kind of uses this double buffering system where it's basically pulling. We basically have a server that interacts with Hive. So there's a backend database, LeoInfra, that is constantly interacting with Hive. And then there's another database that is providing. So basically when you load the UI, you're loading it from one database. That database that you're loading from is loading from the database that's speaking to Hive. So it kind of creates this trickle down system. And this is what has led to the performance improvements of Threads, which is basically pulling the interactions from directly being to the blockchain to kind of buffering through this system so that it doesn't get bottlenecked. So it could potentially make the UI faster. I don't know that it will. I don't know that it's going to make really any UI faster on Hive. Hive is already super fast with 3-second block times. So it's very fast, but it's not as fast as Web 2 because Web 2 is all centralized. So we've basically created like this, the UI is almost centralized in terms of what it feeds to you, but the data that it's feeding to you is ultimately coming from the blockchain. So kind of an interesting setup that we've got on our back end. And when I talk about how Threads took us 18 months to build, a lot of this technology that I'm talking about has been built over the last 18 months, you know, kind of on the back end with this long-term goal in mind. I see Solomie was at Hive Fest and you met Marco. That's awesome. Yeah, I've always thought it would be super cool to meet a bunch of Hive people because, you know, having been on Hive for so many years, I'm going to meet plenty of people that I've talked to for years and years on end and have never met in person. So it would be really cool. Next year, you'll see me there next year. Idiosyncratic asked, when will the Leo play to earn game arrive to the Leoverse? Yeah, so you know we've kind of teased this idea of a play to earn game for Leo, for the Leo token and obviously the Leoverse. There's some cool stuff. There's some cool stuff on the way, and some cool gamification features to LeoFinance and using the UI and we want to integrate some cool NFT wallet stuff, and then obviously you know there could potentially be a play to earn game, kind of like a mini game. You know, I don't know if I don't know if you guys were users of this stuff, but things like MySpace and like Club Penguin and stuff, that was kind of like pre-Facebook where like people started using all this stuff and that's kind of how using the internet kind of started to take off. So and it was super fun. I mean, I used to love that stuff. So I think adding cool gamification features is just a part of Web3. So we're definitely going to be doing stuff like that. I think I'm caught up. I'm caught up on Discord. I haven't even checked Threads yet, though. We've got a lot of good questions today. Let's see what we got. I see Morty quoted me on Threads and said summer is coming. I like that. RM Sidkari said Cal is rubbing the wound Rune from $20 to $125. That's painful. I should have predicted the top. Yeah, I mean the funny thing is my average buy-in price on Rune is like 40 cents because if you go back through my blog posts, you can see I was talking about Rune when it was, I mean, they didn't even have that we were on ChaosNet, and there was like you really only could trade like Bitcoin back when I was talking about Rune. I learned about Rune from Shanghai-preneur, and then JK6276 and Neil McSpadden started jumping on the Rune train, and then I looked into it and I was like, wow, this looks like it could be amazing. So I started buying a bunch at like 20, 30, 40 cents. And then I kept buying all the way up, and then we started going up to like $1, $2. I think when we hit like $2 or $3, I actually sold some because I just wanted to take some profits off the table. Then we ended up going to like $10, and I was like, this is crazy. So I sold some more, and then we ended up going to $20, and I definitely sold more. And then the mistake that I made was when we dropped from 20 to 10, I thought, hey, you know, Rune's not going to go below $10. So then I started buying again, using, you know, obviously what I had sold previously. So I started buying at 10, and I kind of, you know, then we went to 8, 7, 6, and I kept buying. So it's obviously painful to see it at 150, but that being said, I've still been buying. So my average price buy-in is very good, which is, if you watch, you know, obviously we got a TikTok account for LeoFinance. You quick plug. If you are on TikTok, you should go follow LeoFinance on there. Actually, I think it's Cal_Leo. So go check it out. But if you look at that, I talk about kind of general finance and investing tips and stuff, because that's what people want on TikTok. And basically, most of what I say is surrounding this idea of dollar cost averaging, because no one can time the market. At $10, I thought Rune was a steal, and now it's trading at $1.50. So it obviously was the right play to only buy a little bit, and then slowly buy, as it went from 10 to 9 to 8 to 7 to 6 to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, and keep buying. And then you get an average price, and you could be still buying right now if you were dollar cost averaging and getting a great price. And then obviously when the market recovers and it goes back to $10, $20, you're going to 10x or 20x your money. So that's the key, dollar cost averaging. Yeah, Nifty said he's loving the LeoFinance AMA with live questions. Such a good vibe. Say hashtag GM friends with your AMA questions to earn some GM tokens. Yeah, if you're not using hashtag GM friends on your threads, what are you doing? Also, yeah, I'm loving the live questions. It's a good vibe. Feels very chill. We should definitely do this more often. It actually worked out a lot better. I had some doubts. I DM'd a Nomad Soul this morning, and I had a little bit of doubts about the live questions. I just didn't know if it would be kind of a shit show to try to get everyone in here. But it actually turned out very well. So shout out to a Nomad Soul for putting this together and making sure that it went smoothly and getting everyone's questions and people lined up. It's definitely gone really smoothly. So very happy. Nomad Soul said, new community page, Leo Alpha is up. What's the purpose of that one? That is for sharing alpha. So there is a @LeoAlpha account, also an @LeoAlpha Twitter account that's run by JK676. But having this kind of Leo Alpha community, and obviously I think I just tried to load it, and I think we got some work to do to make the community pages look better. I know Eric, a Nomad Soul, has been bothering me to get some development updates to it. Obviously a lot of focus is on threads right now, but we will push some updates in the Sooniverse. But yeah, the Leo Alpha community is intended for all of us to share alpha with each other. So, when I discovered Rune at 40 cents because of Shanghai-preneur and Neil McSpadden and JK, I started writing posts and I started sharing it. And then I think a lot of you guys in the community started learning about Rune, and we all kind of bought in under $1. Obviously, Rune started doing really well. And then a lot of us were talking about how we made a ton of money, a ton of profits. And that's kind of the idea of Leo Alpha, is to find those cool gems out there in the crypto space that we can all kind of get together on and learn about, and maybe even invest in if you decide that it's a worthwhile investment. That's what LeoFinance is about. Like I said, it's democratizing financial knowledge and access. So that knowledge part comes from us sharing great ideas, potential investment ideas, and I think that's just a great way to kind of share ideas and learn. It's kind of like being in one of those trading chat rooms, but it's more cool because it's Web3. And with threads now, I think we can do some cool stuff. So, speaking of, obviously you can use the Leo Alpha community page, but also maybe start, if you find a cool crypto, if you find a cool project that you're starting to buy into and you've got good ideas about and you're researching, maybe post up some threads and tag it. So tag it with Leo Alpha. So hashtag LEOALPHA. And then we can all kind of collect on that hashtag and start sharing ideas. Cause I think it's a great way to share ideas and keep up with what's happening in crypto. Cause the space is moving so fast. I can barely keep up with what's going on Hive these days, just because I'm so focused on the Leo stuff. So keeping up with what's going on in crypto has been an enormous task. It's been very difficult. So I'm lucky that we have LeoFinance, because that's where I get the majority of my information is from threads and posts. Tokenized Society said, thanks for having us. Thanks for jumping on. I appreciate all of you guys and your questions. I think it's really cool to see you guys face to face and and get some questions in. It's pretty crazy how much of a connection we all have online without really seeing and talking to each other other than over text. So. No. Okay, cool. Leo fam. Yep, absolutely. We're a Web3 family. Let's see. I think Hive Engine might be having issues. This is a good time to talk about a little bit of an update. So you might notice that if you load threads, if things aren't really loading correctly, you'll notice like a little red text at the bottom right of each thread that isn't loading correctly, saying Hive Engine is down. Basically what that's doing is even if Scottbot and Hive Engine aren't working, if the APIs are down or something, threads can still work because it's pulling from the chain. So the only thing that won't work is upvoting those threads, because obviously if Hive Engine isn't working, then you can't vote them through Scottbot. So whereas before this update, and I think we pushed this last week, before this update, if Hive Engine was down, you wouldn't even see threads, so they wouldn't even load. And that's how actually, if you go to, let's see how it's looking. If you go to the, so if you go to the created page, you can see that posts aren't even loading right now. The reason why is like new posts aren't loading. The reason why is because Hive Engine and Scottbot are down. So our UI is basically trying to read posts from Hive Engine, but it's kicking back errors. So until Hive Engine comes back online, you won't be able to see created posts. With threads, we're going to push this update to posts as well, but threads is the first one to get it. We're able to still pull the threads, but then, some of the features aren't fully there. And this is much more in line with how real world, big applications, big social media works, where, everything isn't dependent on each other. So like, if Hive Engine is down, you can still read and even reply to threads, but the feature of upvoting those threads is not working. So it makes things more independent so that things don't just go offline all the time. So this is kind of a first step in the direction of making things a little bit more resilient by sectioning things off. Let's see if we get any other. Any other questions? I think we're caught up. Yeah, looks like we're all caught up. I see Bitcoin Flood posted the latest Daily Leo. So in case you missed it, the Daily Leo is now headed up by a Nomad Soul, and it's basically now decentralized. So different members of the community, they're called Leo ambassadors, are in charge of creating different Daily Leo posts every single day. So now there's a Daily Leo newsletter that goes out every single day, and it's by different users and ambassadors. So it's a cool way for us to get more newsletters out. It was originally done by me, and then for obvious reasons, I was very inconsistent with posting it. So then I handed the keys to the kingdom over to Taskmaster, and he was very good about posting. I think he did every Monday and Friday. And then more recently, a Nomad Soul took over and then built out the whole Leo Ambassador program. And now you've got great authors creating daily Leo content every single day. So it's really cool. Yeah, Katerina, it's all a Nomad Soul. So he gets all the credit for that. He did a really good job with it. So I've been reading those. It helps me keep up with crypto. And he just, Nomad Soul said, and I didn't even know this, so it goes to show you how decentralized we're getting with things that I don't even know what's going on. Nomad Soul said, as of the latest Leo growth post, Lion and above roles on Discord can apply to make their own daily Leo edition. So Lion and above is 15,000 Leo power or more. So if you have 15,000 Leo power or more, you can now apply to make your own version of the Daily Leo, and you can apply. So it's not just ambassadors anymore. Now it's anyone who's got more than 15,000 Leo power. Love that. And a Nomad Soul, speaking of, let's just all praise him for a few minutes. He is in charge of LPUD, and LPUD has been doing Leo Power Update every 15th of the month, has been doing incredible. So shout out to him for that too. And yeah, I mean, we've been on here for a little over an hour. Before we jump off, I'll just talk about a few little news pieces that I've seen lately. So someone just posted in general chat, the Celsius CEO just submitted a letter of resignation, Alex Mashinsky. So kind of crazy, but obviously Celsius has had a lot of issues, which goes to something that I was talking about earlier, that DeFi has gotten hit the hardest out of everything in crypto. So that being said, I think it'll recover the most in the next bull cycle. I think you'll see the biggest percent increase come from the DeFi space, come from things like Cub, Polycub, and Leo, because Leo's pretty tied to DeFi as well. And then things like Rune, I think will recover the most in the next cycle, since they've gotten hit the hardest, but still have a lot of value and are still building great technology. And in case you missed it, Bitcoin spiked up yesterday to 20,000, I guess kind of this morning to 20,000. We just dropped back down to 19K. So, yeah. Yeah, as you can see, Hive engine is down, but we're still seeing new threads get posted. So that update is working very well. Effing Guru said, hey, Cal, why do you think Hive is not as famous as it deserves to be? I think, like I was saying, I think Hive in general and things like LeoFinance and even, Splinterlands, but Splinterlands obviously being much further along than other things on Hive, are unfinished houses. So if you're a user of these things, it's because you are capable of seeing the vision of what it can become, not necessarily seeing what it is today. So as great as Hive is today, it's still not a finished product. It's not a finished, polished, easy to use house. So the problem with that is that a lot of people look at it and see all of the blemishes, they see all the issues, and sometimes it's hard to create an account. Sometimes it's hard to make a post. Sometimes all you can see when you first join is blogging, and you don't realize that there's other things out there like Threads and Splinterlands, and 3Speak. And that being said, it's, it can be difficult to get people to buy into that unfinished house when it's so difficult to get over that initial learning curve. So that also being said, I still believe that Hive is undervalued. I think the market cap is lower than what it should be. I think that the number of users that use Hive every month are a lot lower than they should be. I see a lot of crypto projects out there that are more utilized than Hive that don't necessarily deserve that utilization if you compare their technology and their usability to Hive. Yeah, and then Marco said, but a lot of projects are unfinished, but they throw a shit ton of money on marketing, but a lot of them just die out when the bear market hits. Yeah, see, that's the other thing about Hive, is that it's essentially been built with no marketing. There's very little to no marketing that ever happens for Hive. I know there's been marketing proposals, and people have done marketing in certain small ways, but there's never really been like a coordinated effort to market Hive. And that is a double-edged sword. The cool thing about that is that we are a very decentralized project. We're akin to Bitcoin in some ways, where Bitcoin didn't really have any organized marketing in the beginning, but it still took off because of network effects. I think Hive has a similar opportunity to take off and gain traction and kind of be that network effect, decentralized project that can kind of gain traction over time. I still believe in that. But that being said, without like a centralized leader, without a central point of marketing, a central organization taking over that aspect, that's a big reason why there aren't more people on Hive right now. I buy into a vision of Hive. This is my vision of Hive, and I think a lot of other people agree with this as well. Hive being a great base layer one technology is the future of Hive, because then people like me, people like Splinterlands, you've got Agro, Diablo P Matt, people like They Call Me Dan and Starkers with 3Speak, we're able to take that layer one technology and then build our own applications, build our own businesses on top of it. And we have the ultimate incentive to then bring users, bring people into the blockchain, into using our app, which ultimately uses the chain on the back end. And that's what's going to grow Hive in the long run. We don't need marketing. We don't need to tell people about Hive unless you're marketing to other projects. I believe that Hive marketing should be focused on projects, not users. And I think the applications built on Hive, like LeoFinance, 3Speak, Splinterlands, should be focused on marketing to users. So you've got Hive, the blockchain, focused on getting more applications, more business owners into the blockchain and developing on it. And then you've got the apps themselves that are focused on getting users. And that's how the internet grew. You know, we didn't market the internet. We marketed Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and MySpace. Those things were what was marketed, not the internet itself. Because nobody really cared to just be on the internet other than nerds, right? And yeah, everyone here right now, we're all a bunch of big nerds, but that's our strength. That's our superpower. We're early to these things, so we benefit the most. But that being said, nobody just wanted to use the internet for the sake of using the internet. They wanted to use the internet for something specific that made their life better. And that's how these things are going to grow. Yeah, I know Matt Soul said the Streisand effect. But yeah, I mean, I think Hive is undervalued. I've been buying Hive. Obviously, we just saw Hive kind of break this kind of support at 50 cents, and now we're at 48 cents. So personally, I've been slowly accumulating Hive again. If you actually go back to, I don't remember if we were doing AMAs or if we were doing the Leo roundtables. I think they were the roundtables back then, like 2 years ago. I was buying a ton of Hive at 10 cents. It was crazy. I was basically selling the majority of my crypto, like Bitcoin and stuff, and just dumping it all onto Hive. 10 cents was such an easy buy for me. And then obviously when Hive went up to like $1, $2, $3, I started kind of offloading a lot of that Hive that I bought at 10 cents and taking some profits and storing those profits away in stable coins. And a lot of those profits are now being used to buy Hive again. 10-cent days were crazy. Yeah, very crazy. Those were the days when Leo was basically worthless and everyone thought pretty much every blockchain, every project on the blockchain on Hive was going to die off because of the whole hostile takeover and bear market in crypto. So being able to buy when there's that much blood in the streets, that's what can lead to generating a lot of wealth. And it definitely worked out well for me. So yeah, I'm buying Hive here, but I am buying it cautiously, knowing that we could drop a lot further. That's not to say that Hive is not as valuable as what the current market cap is. I just think that's the general market sentiment right now, is that we could still see some more pain. So being that we can see more pain, I'm slowly dollar cost averaging back into Hive. Also dollar cost averaging into Rune and Leo. And lately I've actually been buying some Cub because I'm excited about what the Cub DAO is doing with the multi-token bridge. But don't follow my lead. Don't buy too much Cub, because I like that the DAO is able to buy so much Cub at these low prices. So I think we need to clean up the proverbial Cub balance sheet a little bit by buying back and burning a lot with the current multi-token bridge revenue. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. But yeah, I'm buying a lot of Hive and pushing it into the multi-token bridge. Because if we can get that escape velocity liquidity, you're going to see some really cool stuff happen on Cub and in the Leoverse. We really just need to achieve that escape velocity. So that's really where a lot of my focus is in terms of DeFi and investing in general. Trying to just build that liquidity and get the trading volume, wrapping volume, arbitrage volume to increase. We just hit 500,000. I just said that at the beginning, but we hit $500,000 in multi-token bridge TVL. So that's bHIVE and bHBD total value locked. Next stop is 1 million. So, if we can all kind of get together and get this multi-token bridge to $1 million in TVL, I think we're going to see some really cool stuff happen. This month we've already burned over 300,000 Cubs. So the next Cub burn report is in like 4 or 5 days, on the 1st of October. And you'll see how much Cub we've burned. I mean, I think it's going to be over 320,000 Cub this month, which is pretty wild. That's pretty amazing. Prior to August, which is when the multi-token bridge launched, we had burned 500,000 Cub since the beginning of the platform. And then in August, we burned 200,000. And this month we burned over 300,000, which means that in the last 2 months, we burned more Cub than the first 18 months of the platform being live. So that's pretty incredible stuff. And I think we're just going to keep seeing that grow. If you've been watching the daily burn amount, it just keeps growing and growing and growing. I think right now we're at about 15 to 25,000, kind of depends on the day, but 15 to 25,000 Cub getting burned on a daily basis. So pretty amazing. And with that, I think we are caught up on questions. And it looks like Hive Engine is back online. So if you haven't uploaded any threads, go in there and share some love. Shout out to a Nomad Soul for organizing today's AMA, getting everyone together to ask questions. And shout out to Nifty Phil for jumping in, being the first to ask a live question. And then it was also awesome to see everyone's questions on threads and Discord as well. I did like this setup. And then shout out to a Nomad Soul ask a question as well. And then Trading Society. So thanks everybody. Or Tokenized Society, not Trading Society. Tokenized Trading Society. I got your name wrong. I read it like in the corner of my eye while reading something about trading, and I was like, Trading Society. Love that. Yeah, I wish we had the cat to plug some stuff, but we don't. But thanks for jumping on. I think he may be back next week, but if he's not, we'll do another live question one, or maybe we'll just do a live question one even if he's on here, and we'll just have like a little section each week where if a couple of you want to jump in, we can do that again. It looks like everyone liked it, so yeah. So thanks everybody. We will see you next week. Today was the 27th of September. Next week will be the 4th of October. So whole new month next week. And we are obviously getting very close to the end of the year, which marks some important milestones for us. So I'm excited to share with you guys what we got in store next. So I will try to prepare very difficult questions. All right, we'll see about that next week. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for coming.